Hello everyone, Cowbunger here, and welcome to another edition of Rate Their Chances. This is where we determine how likely or unlikely a character is to be in Fraymakers. There are many factors I take into consideration when determining this, but the most influential one is popularity, followed by potential, representation, and communication. Here is the scoring system for this series, with 5 meaning I think the character will be in the base roster, while 1 means I think they have no chance of being represented at all. Now, as you can see, this is different from all the other Rate Their Chances. I think the main thing that you're seeing here is nothing's animated. I figured that if I'm going to do multiple characters in one episode for now on, I'd have to cut back on something. And in this case, it's kind of going to be like the production, because these videos, if I did 3 characters in a row, it's like, oh my god, it would take so long to render. It already took so long already. So yeah, that's kind of the thing that's taking a hit here. Now, it kind of feels like I'm doing like a Google slide presentation, like I'm presenting in front of the class. But this is how things are going to look from now on. And it's still going to look good. It's just not animated anymore. So, with all that being said, in today's episode, we are covering Tyara from Punch Planet, requested by Turtle Hub, Jack from Pumpkin Jack, requested by Steven Cisneros and Danarillo, and Nobody from Nobody Saves the World, requested by Ditto. And to start, we're going to go with Tyara. Tyara is from Punch Planet, which is a competitive 2D sci-fi fighting game in early access. There's only 143 reviews of it on Steam, but it does have a rating of 9 out of 10. So that means even though it has a small fan base, the game is still very good. Punch Planet, unfortunately, is not talked about much by fans of Fraymakers in general, and I really haven't seen any conversations about a Punch Planet character in Fraymakers. Moving on to Tyara's potential. Tyara is a grappler character in Punch Planet who uses long-reaching normals to poke at opponents. She has burst options and anti-airs to keep opponents guessing. She uses an axe and a shield. While she does have a unique set of weapons, she does not seem like the most unique pick for a fighting game rep. Now, what I mean by this is that a lot of her moves, she does a lot of like charging, and she kind of has like an anti-air. She's got some stuff, but ultimately, like, I've seen a lot of different unique fighting game characters that I think could bring more to the table compared to Tyara. Tyara could be an assist, but none of her moves seem like they couldn't just be done by other characters, and again, that's just going back to the idea that while she is unique within her own game, if you look at the larger scope of indie fighting games out there, I do not think that she is all that much different from a lot of other grappler characters. I think the only real difference to her compared to everybody else is how she looks. And we can go over that a little bit through the representation category. Through my research, I could not tell if there was any one character in Punch Planet that was more popular than another. Tyara would translate well into a platform fighter. I'm not saying that she wouldn't. She definitely has a unique visual identity as well, and I think that's something that's important within representation, right? You're representing a female character, and you're representing like a really tall, strong one that looks really unique compared to other female characters as well. So I think that is really important. I personally gravitate towards most of the characters in Punch Planet. Any of them could really represent the game. I don't think that Tyara is a bad choice at all. I would personally pick Gat if it were up to me, just because he gives me a lot of like M. Bison Magneto vibes, but at the end of the day, Tyara is definitely not a bad choice compared to everybody else to be a character. But again, I've already mentioned the things that hold her back a little bit. Finally, let's talk about communication. Sector K Games are the developers of Punch Planet. They do have a business inquiries email that you can contact via their website. It's very easy to find. And this isn't really a positive or a negative, but there have been no crossovers for Punch Planet yet. It's possible, but without any proof of it happening, it could go either way. So with all that being said, we are at the rating section, and I give Tyara a score of 2. Tyara is a cool character, but the lack of support from fans and its overall small audience does not help Tyara's chances compared to other potential fighting game character reps. Still, these are likely the only things stopping Team Fray from getting a Punch Planet rep, so Tyara still has a decent chance of being in the game. Less likely than not, but still likely in my eyes. The next character we are talking about is Pumpkin Jack, and let's go over where he is from and the popularity of his game. Pumpkin Jack is a spooky 3D platformer inspired by PlayStation titles like Jak and Daxter and Medieval. It has sold 147,000 copies according to Steam stats and is very positively reviewed. With that being said, I've seen no conversations around Pumpkin Jack potentially being a playable character in Fraymakers in the McLeod Gaming Discord server. If you guys have watched previous episodes, you know that is usually a deal breaker for a lot of characters, but we will keep on going with Pumpkin Jack and see if he can break through that. Taking a look at Jack's potential here, he has a lot of unique abilities and weapons. He can attack with his head, command a crow, and he uses a shovel, scythe, spear, and cursed sword as weapons. He can also use magic blasts. If Jack was a character, he would be a pretty unique one, I would say, and as an assist, he could also do something unique. In terms of representation, Jack is the protagonist of his game, is by far the most important and memorable character of the game, so he should be the one who represents Pumpkin Jack. I think that's pretty obvious. And Jack could represent a more scary looking character, which Fraymakers could use more of for sure. Nicholas, I'm not going to try and say that last name, is the developer of Pumpkin Jack. Head Up Publishing and Beep Japan are the publishers of Pumpkin Jack. Sometimes it matters who publishes the games, sometimes it does not. I don't think in this case that it really would, but it might. I don't know for sure. So that's why I put it down there. Nicholas's Twitter DMs are open, so if Team Fray wanted to contact them for some kind of crossover, they could absolutely do that. With that being said, there have been no Pumpkin Jack crossovers yet. And again, if something hasn't happened yet, it doesn't really confirm or deconfirm his chances at all. So it doesn't have much bearing on Jack's rating. With that being said, I'm going to give Jack a rating of 2.5. Jack would make for a great character or assist. The main problem holding him back is a lack of fan support to really get the ball rolling, and proof that Nicholas would be interested in doing crossover stuff. Team Fray seems to prioritize fan picks and devs who reach out to them, and neither things will likely apply for Pumpkin Jack. For our last character today, we are looking at Nobody from Nobody Saves the World. Nobody Saves the World is an action RPG with a protagonist that can take many different forms. It has sold 122,000 copies on Steam and is likely sold more on console releases as well, and is very positively reviewed. Once again, I have not even seen a discussion about Nobody potentially being a playable character in Fraymakers in the McLeod Gaming Discord server. Again, not usually a good thing for any character. For Nobody's potential, as said before, Nobody can take 17 forms in his game to take down enemies, among other things. His forms are drastically different from one another, which could cause problems as a character. If he's transforming into various different things throughout a match, it could be hard to tell which moves he is exactly doing, so I don't know if he could work as a character, but I think he would make for a great assist. Nobody is the protagonist of his game and has the most going for him compared to everyone else in Nobody Saves the World, so he should be the one who represents the game. In terms of a Drinkbox Studios rep, I think Juan is much more iconic and likely as a character or an assist. So I think that really does bump down Nobody's chances to be represented in Fraymakers. And since I've gone over how Team Fray could communicate with Drinkbox Studios and how likely they are to collaborate in something like this, I'm just going to get straight to Nobody's rating, which is a 2. Nobody is a possible pick as an assist, but I think if Team Fray wanted to contact Drinkbox Studios for a crossover, they would go with Juan. In my current list here, I have Juan at a 3, so I think he's actually going to be in the game. He's one of my predictions, so that doesn't really leave much room for Nobody in my opinion. Speaking of the rest of the ratings, here they all are. Thank you all for watching. And in the next episode, we are going to be covering the batter from Off, Will from Moonlighter, and Ukulele. I will see you all then on the next edition of Rate Their Chances. Bye.